You're listening to the Packernet Podcast Network.
What's going on, U.S. Cellular customers? I've got good news, so don't hit skip, at least not yet. I'm talking about their special customer event, Us Days. What is Us Days? It means exclusive offers just for their customers, just to say thanks, like $1,200 off any phone, plus $300 off any tablet. No, I didn't just misread that. They must really like you. Us Days at U.S. Cellular, exclusive offers just for you, just to say thank you. Right now, U.S. Cellular customers get $1,200 off any phone, plus $300 off any tablet. Terms apply.
America's favorite place to watch football is Stadium Swim, located at Circa Resort and Casino in Las Vegas. Catch all the biggest games at a viewing experience built for sports fans. Chill in one of their 6 pools on 3 different levels for a perfect view of their massive screen. Plenty of seating options, from cozy daybeds to private, temperature-controlled cabanas. Stadium Swim. Book your spot today at circalasvegas.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome into College Football Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on Packernet.com. You can find me on Twitter at Packers_access. You can email us, PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. You can text us 865-658-5824. So flying solo as of right now. We may have a couple people hop in here as the show goes along, but nonetheless, we're going to be here just talking a little college football as we're getting closer to the college football season. Obviously, it's right around the corner. I think I seen a graphic today. I believe I've got it right here if I can find it. I think we're looking at 62 days until college football officially kicks off here for the 2024 season. So we're going to blink. It's going to be here. Now, there may be some lower level, that sounds bad, some lower level college programs that start before then, but obviously College Football Home's Twitter account tweeted this out just about 30 minutes, probably about an hour ago now, said just 62 days until college football returns. We're joined alongside Jacob now up in Wisconsin. Jacob, how we doing this morning, man? You've been up for hours, haven't you?
I have been, man. I had to go get coffee, which with my busted front suspension takes me about 15 minutes because I drive 2 miles an hour down the road. Every bump I hit, I'm doing this. But hey, I got my coffee, so I'm good to go.
It's hilarious too, man. You're going, man, this sucks, and somebody watch you roll by and go, man, that Audi looks sweet. Look at that on that thing. Heck yeah.
I'm a low rider, bro.
Yeah, there you go. That's the way it works. So we had several of those back home in Kentucky, man. I remember seeing old Lincolns and old Cadillacs. They were lowered in the back, but it was because we had some obesity sitting back there. You know what I'm saying? You've seen a couple of those, ain't you? That suspension, you can hear it. At 55 miles an hour, you can hear it on the highway just screaming. It's going, give me out of here. That's what it sounds like. So a couple of those in my family. So listen, I ain't hating. All right. We love our fried food back home in Kentucky too. Don't get me wrong. So we got a lot to cover, man. I pulled a bunch of data here, and you guys know whether it's the NFL or it's college football, everything's geared around the quarterback. If you've got a good quarterback, then you've got a chance to win. That's just the way it is. Now, bad coaching can screw that up, don't get me wrong. But for the most part, if you've got a solid quarterback, then you've got an opportunity to compete at every level. That's the thing that we were so uncertain about as Packer fans last year was, all right, is Jordan Love going to be able to handle this? First half of the season, it was looking kind of grim. Second half of the season, boy, he lights it up, and it's like, okay, we can compete. The Super Bowl window is officially open again because the quarterback is performing at a high level. So I thought it'd be cool to pull some data from last season, according to SIS, and say, okay, who were the top quarterbacks? Now, what you're going to notice here, because I couldn't filter out the quarterbacks that are no longer in college football, this is just strictly the 2023 statistics from a FBS standpoint. So the top 134 teams as opposed to some of the lower level programs as well. So you're going to see names that got drafted this past year, and you're also going to see names you're going to go, who is that, right? So let's just check it out here. First of all, let's start with passer rating. And again, this is according to SIS. So we'll just go through like maybe the top 10. Well, we'll mention a few outside of the top 10 because there are some big names just outside of the top 10. So last year in college football, Jaden Daniels out of LSU had a passer rating of 145.3. He led the nation on 327 attempts as well. Bo Nix, second. You guys know Bo Nix was my draft crush at the quarterback position. I think that the Denver Broncos got a stud in Bo Nix. Just hearing him talk ball, hearing his football IQ is just absolutely amazing. Obviously, he played at Oregon last year. 130.
Sounds like sorry to cut you off there, but it sounds like that he's doing really well in camp too. That Sean Payton says that he's everything and more that he'd hoped he'd be. Plus, you add in the fact they got Troy Franklin, also his wide receiver from Oregon. That could be a sneaky match that people are not giving enough credit to going into the season.
Absolutely. And some people look at these statistics and go, does passer rating really matter? It's not everything, but it's a good indicator that someone understands the game, because if you're performing with that high level of efficiency, it means, okay, you're making things happen. You're making the right decisions in combination with, or in conjunction, I should say, with accuracy. As we get lower on the list, you'll notice a couple players that also got drafted. You mentioned that Bo Nix is having a great camp. It sounds like, and again, it's OTAs. We understand training camp, pads come on, it may change. But look at J.J. McCarthy, who the reports coming out of Minnesota is he has absolutely struggled. They've pretty much all but said, hey, look, Sam Darnold's going to be our starter, is what it sounds like, at least as it sits right now. J.J. McCarthy was 10th in the country at 116.9. That's a pretty big difference from a 135.9, right? So if we slide back up, though, number 3 last year, only on 65 attempts, was Miller Moss out of USC, 134.2. Number 4 was Zachary Larrier from Air Force. That's pretty cool, 123.5. Number 5 was Caden Salter out of Liberty, 122.5. Number 6, Devin Dampier, maybe how you say it, New Mexico, 121.0. Jalen Daniels, not Jaden Daniels, but Jalen Daniels from Kansas in the number 7 spot at 120.1. Number 8, Dylan Gabriel out of Oklahoma at 119.1. It's important to understand, too, that Dylan Gabriel is now in Oregon. Okay, so he transferred over to Oregon, playing there now. So he's one of those guys that's going to be a top quarterback this year. J.J. McCarthy in the 10 spot at 116.9. Number 11, Jalen Milroe, one of my favorite players.
You skipped Caleb Williams there at number 9.
Oh, I did, didn't I? Yeah, Caleb Williams. So Caleb Williams, number 9. And again, it's worth mentioning, like, everyone acts as if Caleb Williams was just on fire last year. And listen, he played good, but nothing like the year before. So it's kind of one of those things of, okay, is Caleb Williams going to be able to consistently play at the level he did in 2022, as opposed to taking that step back in 2023? His rating was a 118.9. And what's crazy is, like, Caleb, 387 attempts, obviously. Miller Moss, 65 attempts, but they both played for USC. Look how much higher Miller Moss's efficiency was compared to his teammate Caleb Williams. And again, I understand it's really it's the difference between a full season or 3/4 of the season, maybe a little bit more, and 2 games, but it is what it is. Jalen Milroe, though, again, one of my favorite players in college football, 116.3. Noah Fafita, I think I'm saying that correct, from Arizona, 115.8. Then you got Timmy McLean, UCF, 115.0. And then Carson Beck, some people have him as the Heisman front runner. He came in the 14th spot at 115.0. So, Jacob, when you look at this and you remove some of those players, or try to remove all the players that were drafted last year, the names at the very top of the list are Miller Moss from USC, Zachary Larrier from Air Force, Caden Salter from Liberty, Devin Dampier from New Mexico, Jalen Daniels from Kansas, and then you got to climb down to Jalen Milroe at Bama, and then Noah Fafita at Arizona, Timmy McLean at UCF, and then, of course, Carson Beck at Georgia, man. Anything surprise you here with these numbers?
I mean, a little bit, yeah. I guess I wasn't giving Bo Nix as much credit as I should have been, because for whatever reason, I saw him as like a Timmy Tebow type quarterback, where he like has the talent, but he's more of an athlete. But I think that's unfair. I think Bo Nix has shown that and he has a lot of snaps over multiple different really highly touted, because wasn't he at Penn State for a hot minute? And
I think he may have been. I can't remember where all he's been. I
thought he was at another org too. But like you talked about, I was surprised that JJ McCarthy has, and I'm not just saying this as a Packers homer. It does sound like that he is really struggling in camp, at least just to get up to grips with stuff where, like you talked about, it's almost a guarantee that Darnold's going to be there for at least half a year. And that's, I would say, at least that might be their best shot by far, is to keep Darnold at the quarterback position. But anyways, I like Jalen Monroe as well, or Milroe. I don't know a lot of the other guys. I'm not going to lie.
Same,
especially the guy from Air Force and Liberty. I mean, I would not expect to, with Air Force, forgive me if I'm mistaken, but I remember them. They used to be a predominantly highly running team, from what I remember. And
they still are, I believe. I'm pretty sure
they do a lot of triple option and that kind of weird stuff. And I love, like you talked about, one of my favorite games to watch is always Air Force Navy, or Army Navy games, or the Army Air Force games, anything like that. It just seems like it feels like you're watching like 1940s football again, kind of, for whatever reason. Right. It's just fun. But yeah, and then Carson Beck, like you talked about, that's kind of everybody's golden boy. But you have to take into account too that he's going against, him and Jaden Daniels actually at the top. They're going against a different type of competition versus some of these guys that are playing. A lot of them are good, but UCF and Liberty Air Force, Yeah.
And if any of our listeners are familiar with charting stuff, like you see the different charts where it's like you got the horizontal statistic, you got the vertical statistic, and kind of see where everybody lands. One I would love to see is passer rating with these numbers and completion percentage or on target percentage. I think that gives you a really, really good idea of who the elite quarterbacks are, because when you mention Air Force's Zachary Larrier, the big thing that sticks out to me is completion percentage is 59.7%.
Yeah.
Which tells you he was very efficient running the football, right? And also he kind of protected the football. It looks like his interception rate was only 3%, although it was the highest on this list.
Did you see too? Look at Bo Nix's on-target percentage.
I'm telling you, bro,
well above. I mean, like, he's considerably above even the next guy. That's pretty impressive.
And look at like his on-target percentage, right? 81.5, and then catchable percentage, 90.8. When you look at Miller Moss's on-target percentage, 69.4%, but his catchable percentage, 96.8%. So a big, kind of a big difference there between those two numbers, which is kind of rare. So with JJ McCarthy.
I was going to say again, though, Bo Nix has 470 attempts. Miller Moss has 65. So keep that into account too.
Exactly. So back to the JJ McCarthy conversation here, and I know we're gonna get into more of the players that are gonna be playing in college football this year and the coaching changes and all that. But when you talk about the JJ McCarthy thing, it caught me off guard too, because he was promoted in the draft as, hey, this is the guy that's most NFL ready. He's won everywhere he's went. He's coming off the national championship team. He ran an offense where they ran the ball a bunch. This is a guy you're going to be able to, he's going to be able to just operate your offense and be efficient. And he comes out and he's one. It sounds like his inaccuracy is the big thing in camp. So if you guys didn't see the first pitch, my goodness, immediately people were like, I think he was doing that to make his teammate look better. That's BS. If you see the way he reacted, he's a hell of an actor if that's the case. Because when he threw that ball, he immediately jumped in the air like, crap, that one got away from me. I don't know, man. I seen that first pitch and I was like, how are you supposed to be an accurate football player, football quarterback, and you can't throw a ball 90, whatever it is, 60 feet? It's like, what are we doing here? So you're going to say something, Jay. Do you think he was just doing it on purpose?
No, I don't.
That makes you happy when you seen it, though?
Oh, yeah. That was an Anthony Fauci level first pitch throw out. If you hadn't seen that, I mean, it's bad when you know that our girl, Simone Biles, was able to throw a dart and then do a backflip and land in a split. I don't think Homie could do that.
Yeah. McCarthy may need to learn how to do a backflip playing behind that Vikings offensive line. So, all right, so let's move on to completion percentage. If you sort those same quarterbacks or most of them here, I should say, again, with the FBS completion percentage, Bo Nix at the top at 77.4%. Jalen Daniels from Kansas, the most accurate quarterback. And we need to kind of cross-check these. Again, I'm not that familiar with college football. We're all learning as we go. I'm hoping that these names are still playing. Be my luck, one or two of them, they actually graduated and they just didn't get drafted. And it's like, okay, how did they not get drafted? How are they not playing at the next level? But Jalen Daniels from Kansas, 74.7%. Then you got Jacob Zeno from UAB, 73.8%. Graham Mertz, you guys know that name, right? From Florida, 72.9%. Noah Fafita from Arizona, 72.4%. There's where you see Carson Beck climb up in the borderline top 5 at 72.4%. Again, J.J. McCarthy, big surprise, 72.3% completion percentage, but the dude is having accuracy issues in camp. Miller Moss from USC, he's in the 9 spot at 70.8%. Jaden DeLaura from Arizona, 69.5%. Shadur Sanders, 69.3%. So there's Deion's son out of Colorado in the 11 spot. Dylan Gabriel, like I said, who's now at Oregon, 69.2%. Quinn Ewers at Texas, another Heisman candidate, 69.0%. And then, of course, Spencer Rattler now in the NFL. He came in at 69.0%.
You did. You glossed over number 8, Jaden Daniels, who also obviously got drafted.
There, okay, gotcha. Yeah, so Jaden Daniels, number 8 at 72.2%. I don't know, man. My OCD is off point this morning, I guess. But yes, Jaden Daniels again. When I went back and watched it and was looking at the quarterbacks, I liked him better than Caleb Williams. If I had been in the Bears' shoes, I would have said, "Hey, we're shopping the number 1 pick because we're good."
You, dude. That would have been so smart.
Or Caleb Williams. That's how I would have approached it. And if somebody comes up and sells the farm to get Caleb Williams, you still get Jaden Daniels, you get a ton of picks. That's how I would have approached it. But anyway.
You said exactly what I was thinking. Like if I'm a GM of the Chicago, you had everything right in front of you. You had 3 quarterbacks that you could take, and you have 3 of arguably the best wide receivers that have ever been in the draft in recent history. You had 2 offensive linemen, one of them in Joe Alt that could be a top 3 pick. Trade back even 3 or 4 spots. You still get you could get 3 picks or 2 picks out of trading back on just a very short amount of space there, and you can end up with a starting left tackle, your starting X receiver, your starting quarterback. You could get don't get me wrong, they got Rome and they got Caleb, so in some eyes that was a great move. But then you look back, they had 2 other draft picks that draft. One of them they spent on a punter.
Right?
Are you serious? Like, you can't tell me with a rational mind that was smart. One thing, too, about Jaden Daniels, I don't know if you've seen it, dude. I don't know what's up with his elbow, but it looks like the guy is glued together. I mean, that's the only thing that drove me. He was an unbelievable guy when the ball's in his hands. He looks very Mike Vick-esque. Like, he's very elusive, can make all the throws kind of across his body type stuff. I think Washington may actually have something there. It sounds like he's going to win that job and just get thrown out there. I don't know if that's good for him or not, but it seems as though that he's I always look at stuff through a fantasy lens. He's getting drafted pretty high because of just the ability he has with his legs to make kind of something out of nothing. So, and he's got a decent receiving core out there. So we'll see.
Yeah. And the thing about Jaden Daniels and him, okay, is he going to be able? I was trying to get the elbow pick, but it won't down low, so it looks weird. It's very, 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 very pointy, right? And he's a slimmer guy. What's crazy too, though, is everyone who sees him in person is like, he's not as slim as you think. He's a big kid. Which when you see all the pictures, it's like this dude looking like Callista Flockhart out there. And he'd take that beating, right? So when you look at like Jaden Daniels and what he did, he improved everywhere he went. Even before he got to LSU, like the school, I think it was at Arizona State, maybe when he left there, went to LSU, he got better. Every year you've seen improvement. With Caleb Williams, you've seen improvement, decline, right? And then you've got all of the circus around him of just drawing attention. I want attention.
Crying, painting my nails. I gotta hug my mommy.
It's just weird. It's again, he may come out and be the generational talent that everyone says he is. Not everyone, but many say he is. I've just never seen a quarterback come through the league and be able to lead an NFL team that acts the way he acts. And again, it has nothing to do with the nail paint. I don't care. You can wear a tutu, a wig, whatever you want to do, right? What I'm saying is there's been no other quarterback that does so much to draw attention to himself that wants to be a great NFL quarterback. Because you got to be kind of that. You got to lead by example. You got to be that guy that kind of pulls people along with you. And I don't know, man. It seems like the Bears teammates like him early on, so we'll see. But the second things go wrong, there ain't no climbing in the stands and crying in your mama's arms. That's just strange to me, man.
It's just weird to me because, like you just talked about, the quarterback, in my opinion, the quarterback should be somebody, because the quarterback always has the eyes on him. Everybody knows that, whether it's high school, college, pro football, the movies, whatever it is, the quarterback's kind of the guy that runs the show. if you acknowledge the fact that the light's always on you and you kind of bask in it and you shine in it and you wash yourself in it, that's where it turns people off. If you're one of those leaders that you know the spotlight is on you and you don't use it to self-glorify yourself or to make drama or to make sound clips or to do, I want to make a good TikTok. Like if you have that, if the lights are shined on you and you act in a humble and a team worthy way and that kind of stuff, that's where I think you gain that respect. Like you talked about, he reminds me more along the lines of oh God, what was his name? Not Baker Mayfield, but the guy that was the biggest quarterback.
Johnny Manziel.
Johnny Manziel, football Johnny.
Johnny Football.
He didn't give a crap about the team. He knew that the light was on him and he was going to dance. He's going to puppet. He can dance puppet. He was going to do that. And it's like, I see some of that same stuff with Caleb. Like he's so into himself. He's so into his own look that I think that that's going to end up biting him in the butt. I could be wrong, but.
And if you don't believe what Jacob's saying with that, there's a Netflix documentary on Johnny Football, Johnny Manziel. Go watch it. He basically talks about how he tried to repair his image going into the draft just for the sole purpose of, I want to get drafted higher. I want to get drafted higher. And his life was just kind of crazy. He and his buddy, who was like his agent early on in college.
What's going on, U.S. Cellular customers? I've got good news, so don't hit skip, at least not yet. I'm talking about their special customer event, Us Days. What is Us Days? It means exclusive offers just for their customers, just to say thanks, like $1,200 off any phone plus $300 off any tablet. No, I didn't just misread that. They must really like you. Us Days at U.S. Cellular, exclusive offers just for you, just to say thank you. Right now, U.S. Cellular customers get $1,200 off any phone plus $300 off any tablet. Terms apply.
You're a podcast listener, and this is a podcast ad. Reach great listeners like yourself with podcast advertising from Lips and Ads. Choose from hundreds of top podcasts offering host endorsements, or run a reproduced ad like this one across thousands of shows to reach your target audience with Lips and Ads. Go to lipsandads.com now. That's LIBSYN ads.com. You're a podcast listener, and this is a podcast ad. Reach great listeners like yourself with podcast advertising from Lips and Ads. Choose from hundreds of top podcasts offering host endorsements, or run a reproduced ad like this one across thousands of shows to reach your target audience with Lips and Ads. Go to lipsandads.com now. That's LIBSYN ads.com. You're a podcast listener, and this is a podcast ad. Reach great listeners like yourself with podcast advertising from Lips and Ads. Choose from hundreds of top podcasts offering host endorsements, or run a reproduced ad like this one across thousands of shows to reach your target audience with Lips and Ads. Go to lipsandads.com now. That's LIBSYN ads.com.
They lied about everything to get him to that status, right? And it seems like Smitty says here, shoot, for some odd reason, Rumble started me out about 6 minutes back from the live convo. Got you, man. Hopefully that straightens up there. We may be having issues with it, but we're on X as well. I know we got a ton of people in here joining on X, and we'll be back on YouTube tomorrow as well. We'll add that back to the mix. So we'll see how long it lasts, but that's where we're going to be. M. Smitty says, where's the chart coming from, Clayton? I'm not sure if I understand that question. What we're talking about is, the graphic that everybody does. Like, you'll take one statistic, all right, it's going to line it up horizontally. Another statistic lines it up vertically, and you kind of get this broad picture of, okay, or a more detailed picture of, with these two statistics in mind, who is the best at that position, best player there. I'd like to see one with like passer rating and maybe accuracy, right? Because again, you see some of these guys with a high passer rating that had a little bit lower accuracy. It's a little bit odd to see that sometimes. But moving on to on target percentage, which is obviously completion percentage. And I get people that argue with this sometimes. They're like, on target percentage is more important than completion percentage. Again, just like points allowed and points scored. My response is always, so if you had to choose between those two, you would rather have someone with a higher on target percentage than a higher completion percentage? Because that means you failed. That means you had less success. I don't understand that. But on target percentage does give you a really good idea, right, of how accurate a quarterback is. So in the number one spot, notice we get another name that pops up here. Jack Salopic.
Yeah.
Salopic. All right. from Western Michigan comes in at 87.9%. Now, notice his completion percentage is 66.7%. So it says he was on target. His catchable percentage, too, 96.6%. So obviously, receivers probably a little bit down at Western Michigan, which they're kind of usually known as a receiver school. That's really weird. But Jacob Zeno, again, at UAB, 81.7% on target percentage. Bo Nix, 81.5%. Spencer Rattler, 79.1%. Casey Thompson from Florida Atlantic has made an appearance here at 78.7%. Noah Fafita out of Arizona, 77.5%. Jack Plummer out of Louisville, 77.5%. Jaden DeLaura, 77.1%. Hayden Wolf, 77.1% out of Western Michigan. Ethan Garbers, 76.9%. Dylan Gabriel from Oregon, 76.2%. Nicholas Vatiato from Middle Tennessee, 75.9%. Shadur Sanders on the list here at number 13 at 75.8%. And then Jaden Daniels at 75.5%. So there you go. That's the on-target percentage.
Is Jack Plummer, is that Jake Plummer's kid?
That's the first thing I thought of. I'm not sure.
He's at Louisville, too.
Yeah, somebody check that. That might be Jake Plummer's boy. Hell, as old as he is, it might be his grandson. But yeah, that's the first thing I thought of too, boy. Jake the Snake back in the day. So another thing that they've got is what we call IQR. As we put a wrap around Jacob's head here. There you go, Jacob. Look up at it like you're trying to read it. IQR, it says Sports Information Solutions, also known as SIS, proprietary quarterback metric builds on the traditional passer rating formula by considering the value of a quarterback independent of results outside of his control, such as drop passes, dropped interceptions, throwaways, etc. So it gives you a little more accurate depiction of how efficient a quarterback was. When you go to IQR rating last year, Jaden Daniels comes in at the top at 146.4. Then Bo Nix, 141.3. Surprise, surprise. The two quarterbacks that we liked the most in this last year's draft are 1 and 2. Miller Moss from USC, once again, only 65 attempts, but a 134.2. Caden Salter from Liberty, 127.3. Here you got Caleb Williams, comes in at 124.4. Zachary Larrier from Air Force, 122.9. Jalen Milroe from Alabama, 121.0. Dylan Gabriel from Oregon, 119.1. Ben Woolridge. You ever seen never mind. Anybody who's watched Zohan, go watch it. It's a good movie. Might have to watch it a couple of times to actually get it, but it's good. Out of Louisiana, his completion percentage was only 56.5%. But when they said, hey, if we remove all the noise, he actually played pretty decent, 118.2. Tells me his teammates are probably poopy. But Timmy McClain out of UCF, 117.7. Noah Fafita out of Arizona, 116.2. Preston Stone out of SMU, he's made an appearance now, 114.3. Jackson Dart from Ole Miss, 113.7. And then Garrett Nussmeier out of LSU at 113.0. Jackson Dart makes an appearance here in the 13 spot. That Ole Miss team, Jacob, they're either going to fall flat on their face or they're going to be a absolutely dominant force, man. Because that offense is, Lane Kiffin's got that offense humming. It's going to be really interesting to see how they do. And if you guys want a really cool documentary, go to YouTube, search Ole Miss Rebel Football, and find their channel. And they followed the team. It was either last year or the year before in season, kind of like a Hard Knocks, but a little less, professional, I guess you could say. It was really cool how they followed the program. But what do you think about this IQR, man? It's an interesting metric, right?
To be honest, it keeps like every statistic that we're looking at, when I was listening to all the draft hype and going into the pre-draft, season, everybody was talking about how Caleb Williams is this unmatched prospect that nobody's ever seen the numbers. Nobody's ever seen the stuff he does. Every metric we're looking at, Bo Nix is well above him. Like, to me, it's kind of crazy that Bo Nix kind of got, brushed away as if he's like this top tier quarterback, but it's like every single analytic that we look at, Bo Nix is 2 or 3 or 4 or larger above Caleb Williams. Again, I am biased. I don't want Caleb Williams to do well. I don't like him. I'll be honest. So take my opinion of Caleb Williams with a massive grain of salt. But but I don't see it. I don't see it. And like we talked about, the intangibles, for everything that's on field, I understand that he's good, at least up to this level. I don't see greatness. And then if you take the off field stuff, I see nowhere near greatness. I see a little boy. I see a little tiny boy that's just egotistical and scared. And it's a little boy. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm going. I don't see any of the intangibles in Caleb Williams that I see when you watch an interview with Jordan Love. Jordan Love talks about the team. He talks about how he's growing as a person, how he's needs to work on this, needs to work on that. You talk to Caleb and he's like, "Oh, we're the best. We're going to be the best. Everything's the best. We're never going to not be the best." And we're never going to punt. We're not good. We're never going to have to punt. Like it's just too much ego, too much bravado. Like just, it's a lot of talk and trash. I don't think he's backed it up yet.
If they come out and play well, it can ignite the whole team. But if they come out and they struggle, there's going to be people in that locker room looking at him going, "Shut up, dude." That's exactly what's going to happen. It's what's happened it's what happened with Johnny Manziel in Cleveland, right? It's what happens with Baker Mayfield in Cleveland. They got kind of tired of him. Now, listen, I think Baker is a good quarterback. That's just me personally. But they looked up in Cleveland like, this is just not even worth it. Let's just let him kind of walk type thing, right? So
Smitty's saying here.
Williams does not seem like a leader to me, but more self-interested. Absolutely. And then watch, and what I mean by that, watch Caleb Williams and how he acts, and watch Jaden Daniels. Night and day. Totally different, man. Jaden Daniels, you can just tell he knows how to lead. But again, if he comes out and plays well, that's all that matters. We'll forget all that, and he'll be the new Joe Namath, and he'll be, posing in fur coats and drawing a bunch of outrage from some fans, and he'll be winning championships. But I personally don't see it right now. Again, he could break that mold, but who knows? All right, so that's kind of a deep dive on quarterbacks this year, right? And just wanted to kind of mention some names. Here's some guys that you notice Quinn Ewers didn't pop up on that list very often, right?
And Quinn
Ewers is like, he's a guy that was highly recruited out of high school. He's a guy who's moved around to a couple different programs. Many people are like, hey, he's on the cover of the new college football video game. He's one of the 4 athletes on it, right? Or 3 athletes, however many they have on the cover. He's just one of those guys, kind of the face of football down in Texas. But the reality is, he's not a tractor, like Daniel Jeremiah talks about. When you talk about a tractor is pulling the trailer. He's pulling the team. He's pulling the team to victory. He's not one of those players. Now, can he play good enough with as good as that Texas program is, and now they're entering the SEC this year? It's possible that he can just play just well enough to have himself in the Heisman running at the end, because the team is so well, and we know that's the number one thing that goes into the Heisman voting is you've got to be a national championship contender. That's why Carson Beck has skyrocketed to the front, right? Because Georgia is so darn good. Now, they got a tough schedule, a much tougher schedule than Texas. But, it's going to be interesting to see how the quarterbacks play out. Now, let's move on to head coaches and coaching changes in general. What you got? Somebody being rude in the chat here, Jacob?
No, not rude. Just
it's pretty straightforward, right, Professor Cake? So Caleb Williams seems like a D-bag, in my opinion. I would agree. It does seem that way. But, again, doesn't matter how we see him. It matters how his teammates see him. If he gels well with that locker room, that's all that really matters. The problem is the reports early when he met with the team was it sounded like the Chicago handled it the best way they could. I got to give them props on this. They basically had him go out with the team leaders and eat dinner before they drafted him. And those team leaders kind of sat down. They probably reported back to the team like, hey, here's what we got. But I can't remember who it was. The corner that just got paid, just got the bag in Chicago.
Yeah.
He made a comment about it, didn't he, Jacob? Where it's like, hey, when we
leave
get
that stuff, basically. Yeah. Put that crap aside.
Yeah.
Is that John? Is it Johnson or?
Yeah. Jalen Johnson. Are we thinking right?
Yeah, I believe that's right.
He was the highest graded cornerback in the NFL last year, according to PFF. M. Smitty says, did verify that Jack Plummer, the Louisville quarterback, is not related to Jake Plummer. Does he know who Jake Plummer is? That's the next
I tell you. Come on, Smitty. Find out.
I love it. Smitty.
Come on, Jamie.
Yeah, Smitty is our Jamie. I love it. All right, so let's move on to ranking the new college football coaching hire for 2024. One of my favorite aspects of college football is what they refer to as the coaching carousel. Every year, at the end of the year, it's all right, who's going where? Kalen DeBoer is the big name that got hired this year. Obviously, Nick Saban steps down in Alabama. Kalen DeBoer led the Washington Huskies to a national championship appearance. Obviously, they lost in the national championship to Michigan, but he did more with less in Washington than Bama has on their roster. So, and Bama took a slight step back because of the transfer portal. And as soon as Saban retired, there's many prospects that left. They got a lot back in too, but it seems like the net game was in the negative for Bama. But Kalen DeBoer is one hell of a coach, a great quarterback whisperer, offensive mind, likes the short passing game. You guys want to know why Michael Penix got drafted so high and Atlanta took a shot on him? And I know they got roasted for it. This dude right here pulled the best out of Michael Penix Jr. All right, so he's now the Alabama Crimson Tide head coach. And it's my understanding that Nick Saban is still trying to help with some of the recruiting stuff on the side too, but he's also working for ESPN. I think he's going to be on College Game Day this year, which is going to be phenomenal.
Can I, real quick before we move on, in my opinion, what the Atlanta Falcons did was brilliant. They did exactly what we did with Jordan Love and Aaron Rodgers. You had a guy that you can tell is on the back 40 of his career, or the back 9, I should say. And he's coming off a really serious injury to the point where it's like, if he doesn't bounce back from that injury, we need a contingency plan, and whatever we had in the hopper wasn't doing it. So, maybe you could argue that they took him too early. I guess that'd be maybe the only criticism, is that they took him too early, but you saw that draft. I mean, 6 quarterbacks went in the first 2 rounds. So they saw their guy, they wanted their guy, they got him, and now he gets to sit. And worst case scenario, if Kirk Cousins comes out in that ACL or whatever, I think it's an ACL that he tore, isn't ready to go, then you have at least a prospect that can possibly carry your team to multiple victories, if not the whole season. So I thought it was a smart move.
Yeah, and one of the things I like to do as soon as the draft's over is the people that I respect, I try to go and find their live version of the draft party, like their draft coverage, to see how they responded. Michael Lombardi on VSiN's live draft coverage for the first round, they were just a couple picks in, and he literally said, I just got a text from a front office individual that said there will be 6 quarterbacks taken in the first 12 picks. Like, he said it verbatim. Or he said 6 quarterbacks taken in the first round, and it surprised him that it went in the first 12 picks. Now, listen, Michael Lombardi has been very, very open, very opinionated that he thinks that Atlanta Falcons drafting Michael Penix Jr. was just absolutely stupid, right? And the reason he says that's because they threw so much money at Kirk Cousins.
Mm-hmm.
It's when you look at it, when you step back and you look at it from that perspective, you're going, okay, they think that they have a window to win now, and they were missing a quarterback, and they drafted the quarterback of the future. It's hard for me to argue with that, but I don't know if they're ready to win right now. And you got all that guaranteed money tied up in Kirk Cousins. So the thing that makes it tolerable for me is that guaranteed money is up in like 2 or 3 years. So you can move on in 2 to 3 years if Michael Penix Jr. is the guy. So I'm with you, Jacob. I don't think it was a horrible move, but I understand what Michael Lombardi's saying and the fact that they threw so much guaranteed money at Kirk Cousins and then turned around and drafted a quarterback. And the way everything kind of fell into place from Michael Lombardi's perspective, from a front office executive / former GM's look, is like, you guys should have known he was the guy going in. And it's like you didn't know that until later in the process. That seems a little weird. But again, we'll see what happens. Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. But
I mean, the way I look at it real quick is that do you think the Jets wish that they had somebody in the hopper after Aaron Rodgers went out and played 4 snaps and then tore his Achilles? Like, I bet you they would have loved to have a Michael Penix there.
Well,
just
here's
in
the
case
thing,
that
too,
happened.
though. They had their Michael Penix in house. I mean, look how high they drafted
Zach
Wilson. Look at where they drafted him, Jacob. They drafted him higher than Michael Penix Jr. got drafted.
Yeah, I would argue, though, that they knew what they had in him because they've had 2 or 3 seasons with that crap sandwich they call Zach Wilson. So,
yeah, I would definitely – I disagree on that simply from the fact that if they didn't think Zach Wilson was the guy, then they wouldn't have been going, he gets to sit behind Aaron. You know how much we heard that? This guy gets to learn behind Aaron Rodgers. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. I think they still were holding on hope, but that's the biggest flaw with GMs is they, the only thing worse than making a bad draft pick is refusing to admit it. Yeah, refusing to admit it.
I'm pretty sure Zach Wilson, isn't he now? And he's either in, I think, Denver or Seattle.
Yeah. This is his kind of last shot too. Like him going, I think it was Denver. So Sean Payton's got him out there. If you can't learn how to play quarterback under Sean Payton, then bro, you're
You're done.
You're destined to be a backup quarterback. So again, back to the coaches. Kalen DeBoer lands in Alabama. Mike Elko leaves Duke and goes to Texas A&M. So that's one of those stories, if I remember correctly. He was a coordinator, at Texas A&M. He took the job at Duke, had some success, now comes back, and he's the head coach at Texas A&M. Manny Diaz from Duke, or went to Duke. Let's see here. Manny Diaz is back in the ACC after 2 years as defensive coordinator at Penn State. He went to Florida State, coached 6 seasons at NC State and 6 years at Miami, where he spent his final 3 years as the Hurricanes head coach, while Diaz didn't turn Miami back into a national powerhouse. Neither has his replacement, Mario Cristobal. Diaz, however you say his name, is accomplished and will be tasked with continuing Duke on the path Mike Elko set them on. Like Elko, Diaz is a defensive-minded coach, and while the Blue Devils are a tougher program to maintain than Miami, he understands the challenges and the area extremely well. So recruiting shouldn't be an issue. He's got familiarity there. Now, they lost their starting quarterback, Riley Leonard, to the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, so that's going to make things tough there. Number 4 on the list, Billy O'Brien. Billy Teapot was with the Patriots. Now, you guys know he went to Houston, and he got the absolute best out of Deshaun Watson. Everybody likes to make fun of Bill O'Brien, but Deshaun Watson, I remember the talk. He's a top 3 quarterback now. That was Bill O'Brien pulling the strings and making that happen. Now he goes to New England. Mac Jones falls flat on his face under the Bill O'Brien offense. So obviously it did not gel well, didn't work there. But he is now in Boston College. So Jeff Hafley leaves Boston College to become our defensive coordinator. Bill O'Brien gets canned basically from New England as the OC. And now he's the new head coach at Boston College, which I think that's a good fit, me personally.
Isn't that crazy how coaches' whole careers can kind of be guided or dictated by the success of a certain player?
Oh, absolutely, man.
Like that's crazy.
Yeah. Look at this, Mike McCarthy. I'm the biggest Mike McCarthy stan on the face of the earth. Like, I think Mike McCarthy's a Hall of Fame coach, and I'll shout it to the end of the earth. You look at the resume. He's got everything on the resume, the winning percentage, Super Bowl victory, all that. But if I were to ask you, if they didn't have Aaron Rodgers as their starting quarterback, would Mike McCarthy have a Super Bowl? Yeah, probably not. Probably don't win a Super Bowl without 12. He was the Super Bowl MVP. We forget that, right? Like, he absolutely lit it up, even though here recently Aaron has somewhat struggled in the playoffs, it seems like. So number 5 on this list, Bronco Mendenhall is now in New Mexico. Number 6, Jed Fish is now in Washington. So he's going to replace Kalen DeBoer. He was hired by Arizona a few years ago, so he leaves Arizona, where our first-round pick, Jordan Morgan, obviously was the starting left tackle there. So now Jed Fish goes to Washington to coach the Huskies. Willie Fritz lands in Houston. Looked like he came from Tulane. Still the weirdest but coolest logo in college football. It's like somebody said, let's make this look as crappy as possible. It's going to be so crappy, it's going to be funny. It's going to be good, right? Whereas
have you ever experienced turbulence on a flight and wondered why?
And you can see all the terrain around you. You've got no issue with visibility or anything?
No, everything's PG.
Maybe you've sat on the tarmac for hours wondering why your plane isn't moving.
Well, we're outside here. They're saying the ramp is closed. They won't let us park because of Air Force One.
Listen in on the conversations between pilots and air traffic controllers on the Air Traffic Out of Control podcast.
512 Whiskey declaring an emergency. There's smoke in the cabin. I need to make a landing right now on 31 left.
We have the most interesting, wild, and funny ATC recordings you will ever hear. Check out Air Traffic Out of Control wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.
As our boy Larry McCarron once said.
So bad it's good.
There you go. So Kurt Signetti lands in Indiana. You've got Ken. You want to take a shot at this one, Jacob?
Niamatolo. Yeah.
We'll go with it. He lands at San Jose State. Deshaun Foster, UCLA. Does that name sound familiar to you, Jacob? Think.
It does. Yeah.
Wasn't he a running back? Let's read.
I was going to say he's an old
old running back, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, here we go. When Chip Kelly left UCLA for the offensive coordinator job at Ohio State, the school quickly scooped up running backs coach Deshaun Foster. Foster is a legend at UCLA. He once held the single-game rushing record. He's an assistant coach, and as an assistant coach, has a running back drafted in each of the last 4 NFL drafts. He also has confidence in himself and his ability to recruit in Southern California, as well as a running back community. His experience as an NFL back gives him a little edge during the NIL era, and his history with UCLA allows him to sell a family atmosphere for the program. How he will function as the head coach will be determined, but he has certainly brought some excitement to the Bruins. So, yeah, former NFL running back Deshaun Foster. I love going through this stuff and figuring out where people are at. He's the new head coach at UCLA. Pretty cool. Jeff Levy lands in Mississippi State. My man looks like he's eaten a couple burritos in his life, don't he? He's looking a little bit out of shape. That dude probably knows ball. Spencer Danielson lands in Boise State. Do you like the blue turf in Boise State, Jacob? Be honest.
I love it.
I hate it.
Do
I
you?
about said an F-bomb just now, bro. Holy cow. I absolutely hate Boise State's blue turf.
Do you remember that? I'll never forget that game. It's because of the
person on earth that doesn't like it.
See, I love the color scheme. I just remember because of that, whatever the game was, when they did like the Statue of Liberty play, they did the hook and ladder.
Yeah.
They did like every single, like cheap gimmick, trick play that somehow worked, and they came back from a behind and then it won in overtime. I believe that was at that point. I went like, dude, you could paint your field pretty much any color, and I'd like it. I just remember it was different, and everybody hated it, and I wanted to be different, so I was like, I like it.
Yeah, yeah, I absolutely despise it. But again, I don't know another person. Honestly, I don't know another person that said they don't like the blue turf.
You know what it reminds? I hated. Was it Oregon that used to do the weird basketball hardwood floors? Like the.
Oh yeah, that Oregon's done a lot of creative stuff. If it was Oregon that did that, they've done a lot of creative stuff. But that stadium in Eugene is really nice.
Yeah.
That grass they get it where it's bright. It's dark green one stripe, bright green the next. But yeah. So there you go. Spencer Danielson lands at Boise State. A little turf talk for you. Jonathan Smith lands at Michigan State.
That guy looks like he should do my taxes, not be coaching football.
Yeah, he does, man. He doesn't look like a football coach. Everybody else, look at what they're wearing. I know it's sideline gear, but you can get even like our boy Deshaun Foster. He's got a sports coat on with a T-shirt, little gold chain hanging out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Polo Central. This guy gets up there like he's this literally looks like something you would see on a C-SPAN, right? Like if you put a C-SPAN logo over the Michigan State logo, you would think, yeah, okay, that's somebody just spewing nonsense at C-SPAN. John Summerall comes in at number 14 at Tulane. Obviously, the spelling's different, so I don't think he's related to Pat Summerall at all. I immediately thought, is this Pat Summerall's relation? But no, it's obviously doesn't have an E in there. Here we go. Sharon Moore at Michigan. So he takes over as the head coach in Michigan. It says the hope in Ann Arbor is that offensive coordinator Sharon Moore can continue the success that Jim Harbaugh lifted the program to the last several years. So obviously he gets promoted. They go out and get Don Wink Martindale, the former defensive coordinator for the New York Giants, is now their defensive coordinator. So I think Michigan did everything they possibly could to try to help fill that void for John Harbaugh leaving. But it's going to be a big void that Harbaugh left. Brent Brennan from Arizona goes to Arizona. Bob Chesney, no relation to Kenny Chesney, lands in James Madison. Major Applewhite, heard that name a time or 12. He lands in South Alabama. He definitely played college football. I'm trying to think of where Applewhite played, but he definitely played. I'm pretty sure he played in Alabama or not. It might have been Florida. I can't remember where he played. Anyway, Major Applewhite is a solid hire for South Alabama, replacing Kane Womack as he left to take the defensive coordinator job at Bama. So South Alabama's defensive coordinator or head coach leaves to take the defensive coordinator job for Kalen DeBoer in Bama, and you see Major Applewhite assume that role in South Alabama as the new head coach. Sean Lewis, San Diego State. Is he coaching basketball or football? What the hell's going on here, Jason?
Yeah, I'm looking at it.
Yeah, that dude looked kind of weird, don't he? Anyway, all right. We just lost a subscriber, a San Diego State. Bryant Vincent, Louisiana Monroe. You got Pete Limbo, who lands in Buffalo. That's a funny looking cat. Jeff, how do you say that name? It ain't Shad, is it? What is that?
I'd say Kyate.
Kyate lands in Nevada. You got Jay Saulville lands in Wyoming. Scotty Walden lands.
Who's picking these photos for these guys? These
for failure, bro. Fran Brown lands in Syracuse. I don't know. Wasn't that the nanny, Fran?
Yeah, Fran Drescher. Yeah.
Trent Bray at Oregon State. Gerard Parker at Troy. He obviously left Notre Dame. Parker was the offensive coordinator for Notre Dame, left last season and was tasked with working with Wake Forest transfer Sam Hartman at quarterback, blah, blah, blah. So Notre Dame's OC gets the head coaching job at Troy, and I believe Notre Dame brung in LSU's offensive coordinator. So they robbed the offensive coordinator from Brian Kelly and bring him back to Notre Dame, which is interesting. So Derek Mason, Middle Tennessee, that's a former player, right? Didn't he play for the Titans? Am I thinking
Sure.
right? Yeah. Derek Mason's back in the Nashville area, the former Vanderbilt head coach who went 27-55, and 7 years with the Commodores, will be taking over as head coach in Middle Tennessee. I'm pretty sure he played wide receiver with the Titans. You guys remember the Super Bowl where the Titans came up 1 yard short?
Oh my God. Yeah.
I believe he was the one reaching for the goal line. If I remember, I could be wrong, but I think it was him. Number 29.
I thought it was Yancey Thigpen. Remember that name?
Oh yeah. He played for the Steelers in the 90s. I remember Yancey.
Did he? Okay.
He probably bounced around. Yeah. He did end his career in Tennessee. I'm pretty sure.
I remember watching that Super Bowl at my grandma's house in the basement, and I was rooting for the Titans, and I remember being like, oh my God, like I thought it was a guarantee, and then 1 yard short.
Yeah.
Oh,
29th on the list. Tony Sanchez lands in New Mexico State. And that's where the list ends.
Who's
right
picking
there.
these guys' photos? Like, you can't tell me that they signed up on these.
That collar's screaming right there, too, man. My goodness. Unbutton that top button, but they're not going to judge you, bro. They're not going to judge you. That looks like a bleached out milk dud that's hanging out of that collar, don't it, man? Does it not? Look at my man right here. That's a rough look, bro. Rough look. All right, so there you go. The reason we want to hit on the coaches and the quarterback is because obviously those are the two most important aspects of every college football program. Who's leading the huddle and who's obviously leading the program. So just some big names there that have moved around in the coaching carousel. So anything you want to add to that talk, Jacob? Anything stick out? Anything at all before we move on a little bit of recruiting? We'll wrap this thing up.
Smitty's doing yeoman's work here, saying Derek Mason played for the Titans, Ravens, Jets, and ended with the Texans in 2011.
Oh, nice.
Looking at that list, it seems like we talked about that these coaches, even if they do well, they have a window of like lifespan they get recycled through. I look at guys like Bill O'Brien. He was Badger royalty at one point, and when I think he left and went to go to who was it? I thought he went to a different college team, I believe at the time, or maybe he left us for the Texans. I can't remember, but I was really surprised at how it didn't really transfer over into the pros kind of thing. Like he talked about, he did get a lot out of Deshaun Watson, but it just seems like an odd thing that certain college coaches are really good at college coaching, but when they make that step into the NFL, for whatever reason, it doesn't transfer. You look at guys like Harbaugh and even back to who was the old Pete Carroll and guys like that, and Jimmy Johnson, guys that have made that successful jump. It seems like though it's a little more rare than common. Maybe I'm overstating that, but
yeah, I like this. Professor Cake says Yancey Thigpen sounds like a Madden auto-generated name. Laughing emoji. Go check him out. Look up Yancey Thigpen, man. He was I don't know if he was the number one receiver. He was definitely at least a number two for the Steelers in the 90s. I think the year that they went to the Super Bowl and played the Cowboys, played Jimmy Johnson and his Cowboys. So, all right, so let's move on to transfer portal top players. We're going to be real quick with this, just going to hit on the top 10. The transfer portal has just absolutely blown up here with NIL and everything else that's changed in and around college football. So these are the top players that entered the portal and ended up changing teams, okay? So Caleb Downs, he was a freshman safety. Many were saying he's the best safety in college football last year, even with, obviously he wasn't eligible for the draft, but Caleb Downs was one of those true freshmen. It was just like, this dude's going to be a stud. He transfers from Alabama to Ohio State. Remember me talking, Jacob, about Nick Saban leaving and they lost a lot of players? This is one of those players. So Caleb Downs ends up going to Ohio State. Second on the list was Walter Nolan. Oh, by the way, Caleb Downs' grade, 99.25 according to On3. Okay. Walter Nolan is next. He's a sophomore, 6'4", 345 defensive lineman. He's from Powell, Tennessee, so fairly close to where Emilio's at, just there on the north side of Knoxville. He had a grade of 99.21. He leaves Texas A&M and goes to Ole Miss. So there's someone on defense to kind of go along with that high-powered offense that Lane Kiffin has at Ole Miss. I'm telling you, Ole Miss might be the team out of the SEC this year because Georgia's got a real tough schedule. And I mean, we'll see. We'll see how it happens. Again, you can never rule out Kirby Smart in Georgia, but they got Ole Miss humming. Here's another one. Julian Sayin, senior quarterback. He leaves Alabama and goes to Ohio State. I believe this is the prospect that's flip-flopped like 2 or 3 times. Like he said, he was going to Ohio State, and he said, no, he's going to stay in Bama, and then he decided to go back to Ohio State. I'm pretty sure this is up to date and accurate, but they've got him a grade of 98.7. Top quarterback in the portal, ends up going over to Ohio State. Next, you've got Evan Stewart, wide receiver, 98.6 grade, leaving Texas A&M and going to Oregon. So they're going to put him with Dylan Gabriel over there in Oregon. That's going to be probably a match made in heaven there. He's like I said, a sophomore. He's out of Liberty, Texas, out of Frisco, Texas. Liberty. Look at the NIL value. My man got paid $1.3 million from Texas A&M to Oregon. People are going, how did Oregon get him away from A&M? They said, here, you want some bennies? Take all these bennies, come up here and catch the ball from Dylan Gabriel. They did the same thing with Dylan Gabriel, that NIL money. So Eugene, Oregon, those Ducks, their boosters' pockets are very deep right now. Caden Proctor, number 5, 6'7", 318 pounds. It does not have.
It's got to be a tackle, right?
Got to be, man. They don't have a position listed. My goodness, man.
That's a big man.
98.6. He leaves Iowa and goes to Bama. Like we said, Bama lost a lot of talent in the portal, but they gained some as well. So obviously they get arguably at a 98.6, arguably the best player on Iowa's returning roster there. Let's see. We got Quinshon Judkins.
Quinshon Judkins. That sounds like the Key and Peele skit where they're just making up names.
Running back. He's out of the state of Alabama. He was playing for Ole Miss, 96.8 grade. He is now going to Ohio State. So you're seeing Ohio State pop up several times on this list. Here's another player that Alabama lost. Isaiah Bond, wide receiver, sophomore. He had a 96.7 grade. He's leaving Bama and going to Texas. So he's going to be down there playing with Quinn Ewers, probably going to be one of the top targets for them. NIL was undisclosed, so we don't know how much he got. Cam Ward in the number 8 spot, quarterback. He's leaving Washington State and going to the Miami Hurricanes. The reported NIL value, $1.1 million for him. He had a 96.6 grade. Number 9, you've got Zalance Hurd. Offensive tackle, is leaving LSU and going to Tennessee. It kind of feels like LSU has gotten picked apart. They lose their OC. They're losing some talent, some top-end talent. And again, Tennessee Vols right down the road here in Knoxville picked up a good one there. And then we'll finish it here at number 10 with Nick Scourton, edge defender, 95.9 grade. He's leaving Purdue and going to Texas A&M. So if you were to look at this list, what team sticks out the most? You see Texas A&M, Tennessee, Miami, Texas, Ohio State, Bama, Oregon, Ohio State, Ole Miss, Ohio State. Ohio State, hands down, won the transfer portal as far as top-end talent. I see you shaking your head a couple of times as we were covering those. Was it the money, Jacob, just the thought that, man, these guys are actually getting paid to play college ball?
Yes, that's it. I'm imagining myself at 19, 20, even 21 years old. Hell, now, if you were to just slap $1.3 million in my lap, I'd be like, okay. I'd like to think I'd handle that the right way, but, that's another thing to be said is this could be a double-edged sword. I think you'll maybe, in some ways, I think that you're going to find out who likes to play football and who likes money.
Yes.
The cream will rise to the crop very quickly. And it's kind of like when you saw that statistic where I think this has actually changed recently, but back in the day, it was something crazy. Like a majority of people that won the lottery within like 4 years were either bankrupt or dead because they're just people that don't know how to handle money, don't have a lot of money. And if you just give them a crap ton of money, they're going to either engorge themselves with stuff they shouldn't be in, or they're going to spend it in frivolous ways to kind of blow it. So that being said, you look at these younger kids that back in the day, I mean, they were literally like indentured servants to these colleges, playing, not able to sell the rights to their names. Even at one point, I think they even had their video game likeness, but they couldn't make money out of it. You know what I mean? So I like the fact that they're getting paid. I just worry that, again, that it might corrupt a lot of these younger kids. With that, I mean, that's a lot of money, dude. I don't care nowadays. Even in Joe Biden's America, that's a lot of money.
We'll build them back better, babe. With like Will Howard here, senior, Washington, or I'm sorry, Kansas State and going to Ohio State. Ohio State with another one there. Quarterback Riley Leonard, obviously going from Duke to Notre Dame. Will Howard, 1.1 million. Riley Leonard reported 1 million. Look at this. Dylan Gabriel,
1.4 million.
Going from Oklahoma to Oregon, quarterback, 1.4 million. Yeah, pretty interesting stuff, man, for sure. And again, I am team they should get paid.
Can you scroll up a little bit? Just thought I saw. Keep going. Did that say Trevor Etienne somewhere in there? Can you go up a little bit more?
Yeah, there is a running back named Etienne for sure.
Is that? I wonder if that's
if he might be related. I'm not sure if he's related, but he left Florida and is going to Georgia. I remember Paul Feinbaum talking about him the other day. Some people are saying that Trevor Etienne might be a dark horse to win the Heisman. It might be the first time that a running back's won the Heisman. Because Georgia, if Georgia can somehow overcome this really tough schedule they got, they're going to be looking at that. They're going to go Carson Beck or Trevor Etienne. But I don't know if he's related to the other Etienne. He probably is. It's such a unique name.
Jacksonville, with another running back. Yeah,
I think cool. Did he play for Clemson? I believe. I may be wrong there. Yeah.
Yep.
So there's probably related there.
Plus, I believe is it Travis Etienne or is it?
Yeah.
So you got Trevor. I think that's related. Come on, Smitty, do your thing.
Let us know, Smitty. Is Trevor Etienne the Etienne's brother, not E.T., Etienne's brother that played for played for Jacksonville. We need to know if those two fellas are related. Again, Trevor Etienne and Jacksonville's Etienne. Yes, Trevor. Go. There it is, Smitty. Thank you, Jamie.
Oh.
Go ahead. Yes, Trevor is Travis's younger brother. There you go. So, I don't know what they're eating in the Etienne household, but they know how to produce running backs. There's no doubt about that, man.
Dude, that's kind of like the McCaffrey household. What the hell are they feeding those kids? Or the Bosas? Like, anybody that has a brother, it's like either or the Amon-Ra and Equinemius. You know what I mean? It seems like you get them in tandems. The freaking the Meltons.
Yeah,
that just tells you if you got one kid, you might as well have two because they're both going to be in the NFL. You heard it here.
You heard it here first, folks.
You heard it here.
All right, so we had some other stuff we're going to hit on, but we're out of time. This was fun, Jacob. The college pod always flies by. The Packers pod flies by too, but man, the college one is just like there's so much information. You find one pocket of information, you carry on to the next. It's like holy cow, it never ends. So really appreciate Clay Matthews family. Very good point, right? Not Dave Matthews.
The Mannings. I mean, it seems like once you get football in your blood, it's weird.
Yeah, for sure. So there you go. This will be the last time we play the college intro because I think as people were saying, hey, man, I didn't pick up the stream until a little later. I'm wondering if it might have triggered something. That the song that I use for the college football intro came from a copyright-free channel. Say this is copyright-free music. Everybody's free to use it. Popped it on. First time we use it on YouTube, it triggered an AI copyright. It's like, what the hell? So that might have done it too. But the intros we're going to tone back on. We're trying to get everything narrowed down to figure out, all right, what's triggering the AI copyright problems. So we'll the majority of what we do will be sharing information like this, like we did with the recruiting breakdown and all that. Again, you guys aren't here for the intro video. I just want to make sure that we got, as high quality product as we can for all you listeners, and especially like our Patreon group, the people that support the channel. So, but nonetheless, Jake, appreciate your time. Any parting thoughts at all, Bo?
No, I mean, this was fun. I was very hesitant to jump onto any sort of college football stuff because I don't know a lot about it, and I'm open about that. But it's fun just to learn because, like, if you love football, there's no reason not getting involved in college football. And like you talked about, there's so much. I think pageantry is the best way to describe college football. Is like it's different. There's the feeling with college football that it's almost like. I don't know how to describe it. It feels like something so American and so just like ingrained in your blood. My family, I just wish the Badgers were better at it. I'll be honest, because it would make me a lot more interested in the whole thing. But,
Jay, I'm going to challenge you to do this, man. You listen to podcasts every day. Search wherever you get your podcasts. Paul Feinbaum Show. All right. Finebaum. All right. That's his last name. Subscribe to his show, and there's going to be it's a 4-hour show every day, Monday through Friday on SEC Network. Okay, so you're going to get the show from the day before. There's going to be 4 different episodes every day. Find one that says callers, meaning he's taking a lot of calls that day. Bro, what you're talking about is passion, pageantry of college football. These people are way down deep in the South. And I'm telling you, man, there are some of them, and I've made this joke 1,000 times, but I'm being dead serious. You hear my accent and you think, man, he's country. These people make me sound like Margaret Thatcher. They are crazy about it. And they will call in and bash each other, bro. You will literally text me as soon as you hear a caller episode and go, this can't be real. This is staged. I'm telling you, man, it's just absolutely wild. So kind of dive into the Southeastern Conference a little bit this year when you're watching college ball. Because, man, you talk about American and pageantry and just loving the country. Like, the watching them do their pregame national anthem and all that stuff, bro, they absolutely, I mean, they are all about
it's crazy that the only college game other than like smaller colleges that I've ever been to. I went to a couple of Vanderbilt games when I was in Nashville, and even that, I mean, like I'm like, your team sucks. And they were so proud, you know what I mean? Like everybody had their faces painted and literally willing to fight if you said that your team sucked. And it's like, you guys are playing against, you're going to lose. Like, you're going to lose and whatever. They still die hard, man. So
yeah, it's definitely, it's a lot more intense than NFL football. Like you go Philadelphia, you go watch the Eagles play. People say if you're the away team and you go in there with away colors, Eagles fans are just horrible to you. Imagine that times 10. That's what happens when you go to the swamp wearing UT orange, right? And I like to think that Tennessee isn't as bad up here, but some of those schools deep in the South, holy cow, man, they do not play games. So there you go. Smitty says, thanks for all your hard work. Thanks for all your guys' hard work. Really appreciate you, Smitty. Thank you for looking stuff up for us, man. It's cool that you're helping with the show in that regard too. Chris Nichols says, great show, fellas. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate you hanging out with us, buddy. All right, we're out, guys. We'll see you guys tonight for PTA Live, going live at 7 p.m. Central Time. We may go ahead and break down the next game, which I believe was us beating the Chicago Bears, I think. I'm trying to remember who it was. No. Vikings, New Year's Eve.
Yeah, that's right.
The boat race. That's a fun one. So we may break that one down. We'll see if any other news drops, anything else we want to hit. But, yeah, we'll be back 7 p.m. Central. So thank you, guys. This has been College Football Total Access. For those of you listening on the pod, thank you for making us a part of your day. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world. This is the last time we're playing this intro. Moment of silence for college intro. All right, that's good enough. See y'all.